Hello and welcome back to another development log for Horizons of Achaea. I've got some exciting updates today and some general timelines to share with you all. Before we get started, a quick plug for our Patreon. If you've been watching us for some time now or reading any of my blogs, then you know I'm a real big stickler for making sure that our developers and our artists that are helping me with this project are being paid. I'm not taking a dime from this project. So contributions from you all are directly going to the developers and the artists to make sure that they're eating well and sleeping good at night. This is so that we can continue bringing the game to life with the best possible quality that you all, the players, are going to deserve. I have read and listened to so many terrible stories about studio managers that weren't looking out for their team, and I definitely don't want to be somebody that falls into that category. Anyways, back to business. It's been about a month and a half since my last development log, and it's been a wild ride since then. One of the most notable accomplishments so far is the Cormorant's animation and the flight control systems. A couple of things on those. The ship controls were very necessary for us to get hammered out now, as they're going to be an integral part of the demo, as we set up the scene to show off a lot of the game's core mechanics. We have some tweaking to do, but the basic movements are there. As far as the flight control inspiration, if you're wondering, think of the Rogue Squadron games from the GameCube era, and minus the barrel rolls, because obviously that would be disastrous for people on one of these airships if they were upside down. The thought here is that we want to keep the flight controls relatively simple, as this is a JRPG first and not a flight simulator. But at the same time, we'll be adding in a little bit of physics so that you have more immersion for when you're flying around our overworld. An example right now is when the ship turns. You'll probably notice in some of our gameplay footage that the ship turns on a couple of its axes about 10 degrees. That to kind of mimic what a ship in like an ocean would look like whenever it's turning left or right. We're going to continue to develop those, as I've gotten a lot of good feedback on how we can improve the movement. There are some folks that gave me some feedback that the ship turning felt a little too sharp, but I would say reserve judgment, as it's going to play into our ship-to-ship combat mechanic. So stay tuned and let's see how that feels and see where we go from there. Okay, onto the ship animation. And wow, did people hate the flapping that was going on with the bottom fins of the first version of our airship. No one was really overtly rude, but it was one of those times where I thought it sounded cool because I was taking a lot of inspiration from Da Vinci style machinery, where their only point of reference back then for anything flying around was like birds in the air and stuff like that. But it was clear it wasn't meshing with our audience. If you've seen any of our latest YouTube shorts, TikTok videos, or if you're a Patreon subscriber, you see that we've now addressed this. I have the bottom fins now acting more like oars, so it's propelling the ship forward, and there's no mechanism at the bottom of the ship that's really contributing to lift, at least not in the sense of the bottom sails. This was actually kind of fun to go through, where we were getting community feedback on the developments that we were putting out there. It was mostly positive, and it was fun to see us be actually able to pivot and make the change and address the problem. All of that without disrupting any of the other development efforts that we have going on to make sure that the game's progress is moving forward. One of the other things that we got done in July was a small section of the overworld. I really believe our level designer nailed the first iteration of this and really made the clouds come to life with this section of the map. And let me tell you, they're a blast to fly through. If you haven't seen the video that shows that off, link is in the top right corner. Go check it out. This section of the overworld is still undergoing revisions, but it will be featured in the first part of the game where the world opens up and starts to introduce you to the characters and the ships. Some of the floating islands in that video are just placeholders for the time being, because we're still modeling out a lot of the stuff that we're going to be putting on those islands, buildings, trees, other the little things that we're going to pepper the environment with, particularly this island. In the next week or two, I also plan on putting together another video of the Cormorant with its new fin animation flying through a night version of that level. So stay tuned for that particular video. Okay, so here are some of the general timelines as we're moving through the middle part of August here. By the end of August, we're likely going to have our second OST for the game. Looking at you, Tony. This one is going to be Valen's main theme, and we'll be posting a preview of that track here soon. Also here in August, we're going to be showing off Zay's 3D model. Here's a sneak peek. This is actually our second attempt at getting this done, but I do think that this really turned out well. Animation timelines are iffy at the moment, but we do have the basic movements for Zay already hammered out. Towards the end of August, we're going to be refining the concept art for another ship that's going to be in the game. This ship is also planned to be in the demo. And who knows, maybe you'll have the option to fly it. I don't know. Just saying. I'm actually super excited about this particular ship because this is one of them that is a departure from Skies of Arcadia. And I think it's one of the ships that will start to give Horizons of Achaea its own voice. During the month of September, we're going to start working on the 3D modeling of said ship and also getting the rigging and animation done for it. Depending on funding for that month, we'll begin getting the 3D model of Valen completed as well. It's sort of interesting going through these. Now, after we've got a few of them under our belt, we're starting to be able to really project how long each one of these particular assets, animation, rigging, and getting it into the game with programming takes, which has been exciting. It really helps me figure out some of the timelines that we're going to really need to adhere to as we move forward with development. As October rolls around, we'll be working on an additional NPC airship that will be in the demo. It'll first go through its concept art phase and then through 3D modeling. Again, depending on funding for October and how all that plays out, we'll start to get our initial drafts of our start screen. As far as November and December go, I really plan on buckling down and getting the ship-to-ship combat mechanics worked out. Most of that time is going to be focused on the game programming and getting a lot of the mechanics to be working smoothly. Any other short-term goals are a little bit TBD at the moment, but as November 1st rolls around, I should be able to give you guys a better idea of what our projections are for the end of 2024. October through December 1st are a little bit scoped down at the moment, and that's because I have a couple of life changes that are going to be happening somewhere around November 1st. So more on that later, but at the moment I'm just making sure that I have the game's development cycle manageable to where I can take on that as well. I don't think that it'll impede efforts too terribly much, but I'll report on that as we get closer to it. Folks, I appreciate everything that this community has given me so far as we're trying to surmount this challenge. It's definitely been an experience so far as we're nearing a year of this, and we've only just got to the tip of the iceberg. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, and help spread the word about this JRPG that we're trying to bring to the masses. And as always, I'll see you all in the Horizons.